Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Road to Grandmaster series. This episode is going to be very, very exciting. It's currently just past midnight here in Madrid, in Spain, and I am back to competitive over the board chess for the first time in nearly 2 years with a rating that is at its lowest point in about 10 years. Let's say 8 years if we are being exact. I took a long break. I talked about it a lot, why I was saying I was retiring from competitive over the board play, but recently in this series I'm back and this is my first test. I'm playing a closed tournament in Madrid. That means there are 10 players. Everybody is higher rated than me and there are chances for Grandmaster norms. Now, in the first round, I was paired against the best player in the section, the best player in the entire chess club at the time of this tournament of over 60 players in 3 sections, Tomas Sosa, whose rating is 2535 from Argentina. In fact, last month, before one bad tournament, he was rated 2560. Now, I'm going to get into this game because this was one of the best games I have ever played in my life, and I would like to share it with all of you. A friendly reminder, all of my training that I have uploaded with my coach, Grandmaster Arturs Nixons, is on my Patreon. I will be uploading some separate content there throughout the tournament. Link is in the description. And here's something for free. Some of you may know that I have an educational chess platform named Chessly. Some of you have courses on there, some of you don't. For this entire tournament, I am calling upon you, the community. We are doing a community challenge where you contribute to a global leaderboard, and if you hit level 1, level 2, and level 3, we will give you a reward. It's on Chessly. If you don't have any courses, you can still participate. I will put a link in the description. You've got 5 days to hit the goal. You gotta log in, do a couple of challenges, solve a couple of things. Go check it out, okay? Now, it is time for the recap. So, this is a really brutal way to come back to competitive chess. This man is 2560 last month. He's 2535 now. He's an Olympic player. He represents Argentina in the chess Olympiad. And he's also a young guy. Like, he's not some old man, all right? And, he's clearly a good player. And my coach was warning me that this is a really rough way to start the tournament. But I was really confident going into this game for some reason. Tomas plays e4, and I played c6. Also, just as a quick bonus, besides the community challenge, which you should definitely do, the Patreon if you'd like to support me and check out all the bonus content, I am streaming the games without commentary, just cam review. That is usually live on Twitch. So Tomas likes to play the 2 knights Caro-Kann, and recently he played d3 as well, which is called the Breyer variation, which is the engine's preferred line against the Caro. I had prep in both, but against knight c3, recently I've been playing a lot of de4, there's knight f6, there's g6, which I've played. I went back to basics. This is the old main line of the 2 knights Caro-Kann. Recently, it's been infused with some cool ideas, and I don't think he could have prepared it because I play literally everything in the Caro-Kann, and actually this I haven't played in a very long time. Quite simply, the idea is to take, and then here, what you do with black is you choose. You can choose the old main line, which is e6. You can play knight f6 and then something. You can play not g6 right away because it hangs a pawn. I played e6, he went bishop e2, there's many, many lines, and now I played something I have literally never played in my life. That's because for this tournament specifically, and for him specifically, I prepared bishop c5, and I even played some training games in bishop c5 against the Grandmaster. I got some interesting games. Now, the idea of bishop c5 is not to commit a knight. You don't commit a knight somewhere, and then you wait to see what your opponent is going to do. There was a game played at the World Cup between Vidit and Bluebaum where queen g3 was played and white delayed the move castling. That's actually the meta, I would say, in this line, but black is completely fine, but white won a very nice game there. Tomas just castled because it's the most natural move. And now I played knight d7, and I think, he was telling me he knows that the main line is knight f6. I don't like to put the knight on f6. I actually don't like to do that because that's the old way of playing the position, and I think that white gets a very nice game there. So I actually like to put my pieces like this, and if your opponent plays queen g3 attacking the pawn on g7, what you actually do is you play bishop d4. It looks kind of ridiculous, but it's actually very, very decent. you're essentially trying to prevent white from playing the move d4 themselves. So rook d1 here I've had played against me in training games, and you go d4 yourself. And well, the position is kind of bad for white. It's not very pleasant. So he played here, I went here, he took. I cannot take with the c pawn because he plays knight b5. All of this was in my notes. And then my notes ended at rook e1, knight e7, and then white tries to move the bishop out of the way, to then move the knight out of the way, to then move the bishop out of the way, to then play d4. That's sort of the idea. White has the two bishops in a symmetrical structure. Now, going into this game, I could clearly see my opponent likes a straightforward positional game. And actually, I argued with my coach about playing this line. He actually did not, he was like, it's your call, but I think he's going to be happy here. And I told him, I actually think I'm happy here too, because dynamics suit my style. So he went bishop g4. I've never seen this move before, but the idea is pretty simple. He wants to play bishop takes d7. Like, for example, if I play bishop e5, he will take my knight. I thought here for a bit and played knight e7. I'm kind of like a new and improved version of myself. I mean, I hate to sound like cliche. I'm not going to overthink in the openings. I'm not going to think my opponents are geniuses. And I kind of wanted to just like stay up on the clock against them and not, do anything ridiculous early on. So he went here. I played bishop f6, which I thought was extremely natural. It turns out bishop b6 is also fine. I mean, I just thought this hangs a pawn. It turns out that this is completely playable, so now I know. But I just thought, why would I do that? I'm just going to put my bishop on f6 because it's protecting g7. He played d4, which is clearly what I thought his plan was. And I am familiar with the fact that in positions like this, very often, black can actually use the h-pawn. It's not a good idea to castle, because Tomas will just play bishop f4 with a much better position. The bishops get their open lines, he gets the center, and he's just got an advantage. So I knew I had to act right now. This is the part where I had to get the power struggle going, and I played h5. And he went here, and so here I thought, I can play knight f5, and he's going to go queen f4, and I'm going to go g6. I thought this makes a lot of sense. I have 6 out of 7 pawns on light squares. It should be fine. But then you can't really take the dynamics out of Gotham, and I started really calculating this idea g5. And it turns out to be a very good move. In a nutshell, the threat is knight f5 shoving the queen backwards, and you can play g4, but then the queen actually can venture back out in some lines, but that's sort of the point. And you're just winning tactically here, which is kind of crazy. The engine here gives queen d6, which looks beyond idiotic. And if knight f5, queen a3, and the engine claims white is better, but nobody plays chess like this. Like, that is not, that's crazy. Like, that is you completely leave that side of the board. And I guess you just try to exploit the black king, which is maybe why g5 was a bit much. But I knew we were now playing my game. Knight f5, g6 is completely reasonable. I just couldn't bring myself to play it when g5 looked so good. We both thought he has to take. And now we enter a 4 sequence of moves. There are no tricks here with knight f5, none of that stuff. I pin him, he protects himself, I take his bishop, he takes back, and I play knight f5. My king is safe, and I'm going to go here. And so what I had calculated from a distance was queen here, take, and I thought if anybody's better here, it's black. Because I'm going to go knight h4. I'm going to go knight f6. Furthermore, if he plays a move like, let's say, queen h2, and then takes my pawn on h5, I thought I can take, and play knight f6, bishop f3, go after his bishop, and then here in my mind, I just found this draw. Knight h5, king h2, and rook h8. I thought this was very clever by me, and I can never lose this position. Okay, or knight f4 or something. Like, put the knight on f4 and then play rook h8. And I thought, okay, like, this will just be a draw. But he went here, and in this position, he played a move which I did not see coming at all. And I wouldn't say it's like Levy of old. In many recaps, I'm like, oh, I missed a move, Yeah, I completely missed this next move here. It was a really, really nice idea. I honestly didn't really believe in it at first. Here, you'll notice, like, our time is even. He blitzes this move c4. And I'm like, I get it. My king is still in the center, and like if you wait, I mean, I'm gonna play long castle and I'm gonna play knight f6, and you're gonna be worse. He went c4. I was like, really? But isn't this just a free pawn? Now, I definitely thought about not taking it, because of course if I take it, he's gonna hammer away at my center, and I'm not gonna castle. But I thought, look, it's a pawn is a pawn. I only spent 4 minutes. I didn't calculate anything else, because if I play knight f6, I just thought, well, he's going to take, and now he's going to play rook c1, and I mean, I'm just worse. Like, where's my king going? And yeah, the engine agrees, and I'm glad I evaluated this correctly. So I without even calculating anything, I played this. He played d5, and now I spent a lot of time. On this move, I thought for 29.5 minutes. And a lot of thoughts went through my head. A lot of thoughts. The first 5 minutes, I was like, he's nuts. He's tilting. He doesn't like his position. But then I have to respect what my coach says, which is like, look, he's a GM. Like, he knows what he's doing. And I can't just think he's, like, dumb. Like, so my first thought was very straightforward. My first thought was, I'm going to go knight e5, attacking the bishop. And then he's going to take, and I'm going to take. And I don't see his next move. Like, I don't know what he's going to do. Like, let's say he goes rook e1. I can even step out of the way, and I just thought I'm clearly better. But then I started having thoughts, and I was like, knight e5, I kind of don't want him to open the position. What if I keep the position closed? And ultimately, this came down to, do I open the position and potentially get like a very broken structure? And specifically, I calculated this, take, and then in this position, bishop to e4. And I calculated a really ridiculous line. Knight to d6 attacking the bishop. f4 clearing out space. And here I looked at queen g4. If he takes, I get my rook there. The bishop is hanging while I'm hanging, and that's defended. But I thought queen e3 here was a good move. And it turns out I had the right idea, but the wrong execution. I had calculated knight e4, queen e4. There's no longer a checkmate, and I thought I was really smart, right? I thought I was really clever. I'm like, I'm going to castle. He can't take me because he's pinned, and if this, I mate him. I thought after rook f2, I'm just lost, because I'm just going to like have to move my knight and lose all my pawns. Well, as it turns out, this position is actually equal. It's dynamically equal, and it's a repetition of moves. But I just somehow was like, this is too weakening. I can't. And of course, none of that has to happen. But I spent so much time like, oh, I don't want to go knight e5. It feels so bad opening the position. So I said, okay, c5. c5 makes sense because he wants the position open. He has the bishop. He wants to open the position. Why would I let him open the position? And I spent a lot of time. I was calculating, and I thought, you know what? I think I came to the right decision, so I can be happy with myself. All right. I will crop the camera here because I am flying off the screen. So I thought, look, that was a sensible decision by me, and I only looked at knight c3. I didn't look at anything else. I mean, he said he could go d6, but I thought it was silly to allow me to castle, but d6 is definitely a move. And knight c3 comes, and here I realized I had blundered. I spent 29 minutes, and my plan was here. I blundered. So I spent a bunch of time on c5 because my original thought was, oh, this is so simple. I just castle. This loses. I lose. Knight e4 attacks my queen and gains access to d6. And then he just takes the knight. And then he plays knight d6. So my original plan to play c5 long castle just completely doesn't work. Now, I noticed that while calculating. So I said, okay, fine. c5, he wants to play knight b5. He wants to play knight e4. I'm going to play knight f6. Very easy. And I realized I'm losing again. Because he can play what I thought was rook e1, king f8, e5. And I'm getting skewered. Now, the engine, of course, finds some maybe miracle way to save the position. Like, I thought here I'm just lost. Turns out I'm not lost. I just thought, like, the queen and the rook. And yeah, it turns out, actually, after knight e4, I have this, which I saw, but somehow thought I just lose all my pieces. No, it's actually, it's not horrible. I saw this line, but I was way too afraid. And so I discarded knight f6, but it's actually for good reason because I found the best move. The best move is actually knight t4 with a really gangster idea in mind. I stop knight b5. I pressure the bishop. And one idea which I realized that he missed, and I might catch him with, he gave me a check, and I went king f8, abandoning the knight, and that's why the knight on d4 is really nice, because it hits the bishop, right? And right here, I thought he has to take my pawn. It's now time to get the pawn back, because if he doesn't get the pawn back, he plays bishop d1 to try to push. I'm going to play knight f6, and I'm just a pawn up. I mean, the game goes on, but I'm a pawn up. He went here. And I caught him. The idea of knight to d4, the sneaky hidden idea of knight to d4, was the incredible queen to h4. It's a very famous pattern. You target the bishop, you target the queen, and he told me after the game he thought when I played this move he had to resign. When he blundered queen h4, I also thought he had to resign. I was completely convinced that he had to resign. I was like... But then I realized there is king h2. The idea is queen h4, knight f3 is a fork, and then I take the queen back because he's pinned. He doesn't have anything. And he went here, and here you'll notice the time. I'm down a lot. I'm down 24 minutes. There is no bonus time control. So I say, okay, look, you got to buckle down. You got to play fast. You got to play practically. So I took the bishop, I took the queen, and I played rook g6. I thought, I ain't losing. I got 6 pawns. He has 5. I'm not losing. He goes here. I bring my rook, right? I don't even think about it that much because it's got to be the move. I'm not playing f5 yet. And here, rook g1. Now, there's a saying. The saying is, if you're trying to win a rook endgame, generally you want to trade one of the rooks. It felt a bit silly to me to trade now. I thought I would just lose a presence here. So I quickly played this because, again, I'm down 23 minutes. It's 40-17, and I haven't been nervous this game, but I mean, it is dawning on me like I'm gonna maybe win. I need enough time. And the other idea was that if he takes me, which I do think is the best move, now I connect my pawn. So I have an outside passed pawn. His pawns are doubled and isolated. They're very bad. d6 is bad. In the long run, I'm gonna have good winning chances. So he goes king h4, and here, like, things are getting really spicy. I spent half my time here almost calculating some wild stuff. This is an extremely tricky move. It looks like it loses the game on the spot to knight e5. And the idea is basically he can't stop this fork at all. Rook g6, knight f3. If he goes here, I take. Then if he takes, I take. Then if he plays knight c5, I calculated that this was maybe winning. Knight e6, king e8, knight g7. And the craziest thing is, like, he ends up a pawn. But I'm winning because I get there and then my queenside pawns go. So I calculated like 15 moves ahead. and then I realized none of this actually has to happen. Because after, like, for example, knight e5, rook g6, knight f3, like, let's say king h3 here, you know what he can do here? He can play, and he told me after, it's not, he can play d7. He can start, he has rook g8. He can queen the freaking pawn alone. And the best I have here is this, and okay, maybe I don't lose. Maybe it's a fortress. So once I realized that king h4 was bait, this dude was straight up baiting me. I did see that I could play rook g1, f5. But I thought after knight g3, he's getting counterplay. Yeah, the engine's like, not at all, dude. Not at all. And it kind of looks like he does have something. Yeah, the computer's like, not at all. Like, not in the slightest. Rook e1, not, you know, it's... But it looks a little scary with black's king kind of open like this, and there's checkmate threats maybe. And yeah, I had a feeling. Of course, I saw rook g1, f5, but I just couldn't bring myself to open the king. And so I played the second best move, which he called really smart. Not during the game. I didn't play this move. And then he was like, oh, that's really smart. He told me after. But yeah, b6. And the point is that in a lot of lines, my c5 pawn is hanging. And he's going to want to take it. Like in a lot of these positions, he's going to want to take this pawn. So b6 enables my knight to move and doesn't really change much of the position. So he went for it. And I realized here, I've caught up on time. There's a lot of possibilities, like knight e5, rook h6 might be winning. I mean, rook e5, it looks like I'm ladder mating him. I'm not. So I said, you know what? I'm going to play fast and extremely concretely. I traded rooks, I checked him, and I got to this endgame, king e8, d7. He saves his d-pawn. He saves that pawn too. We're equal. I'm no longer a pawn up. But I'm completely winning because I have rook e6. And the plan was simple. I was like, I'm going here. Rook d2, g7. I have 10 minutes to 3. The game has completely shifted. Like, we were in a spot where I was down 30 minutes on the clock before this queen h4, but I was fighting. Now I'm just winning. Rook e7, and I'm sitting there, and I'm thinking, this is the end. I can't believe it. I've done it. I'm going to beat a 25-30. This is like the 6th highest rated win of my life. I was out of the game for 2 years. I considered quitting. I'm never going to get there. Like, then I stopped myself because I do this a lot at tournaments. My brain just spirals. I'm like, I'm going to win. I'm going to win. I'm going to win. And I started thinking, this is not so simple, because if I take and start pushing my pawns, he's going to start pushing his pawn down here. He's going to put his king like on g7 or f6. And that's what he started doing because he's a GM and he is not resigning. I play b5. He plays f4. I'm like, man, uh-oh. Do I go here? Like, you know, you start having nightmares. Your opponent's going to get in. He's going to do all of this. Like, do I play rook d6? Do I play king c7? Clearly, he wants to play f5. There's no difference. Do I put my own pawn on f6? Do I keep my pawn on f7? Time is ticking, tick-tock. So I play king c7. Plays king f6. Suddenly, I'm like, ooh, I don't like this. Maybe I shouldn't have allowed that because now my rook can't move. Okay, but fine. I'm going to keep moving. I got to keep moving, right? He plays f5. Now I'm like, okay, I can play a5 maybe. Like, I can start pushing. I'm going to play rook d5. So he can't make any forward progress with his king. Now here, what he probably should have done is played f3. Like, generally in the endgame, you need as many tempi as you need. He played f4, and I thought, I'm running out of moves. Like, what do I do? I can't play b4. I can't move my rook because he's going to take on f7. What do I do? How am I winning? Okay, I'm going to play a5. I might as well, right? And like, you know, if he plays rook c3, let's say, then I'm going to play a4. And then he might play a3. And then we'll figure it out. Like, I don't know how we're going to win this. I'm not even sure this is winning. But we're going to figure this out. And I kind of set a trap here because I played it here, and I had a feeling he was going to play a4 to try to split my pawns, but it's a blunder because after a4 take here, I have rook d4, which is winning. He can't trade because I promote. He goes here, I play rook f4. He can't take my pawn. I'm going to take, and it's an easy win. So I'm like, oh, I'm so smart. The game is over. He goes here. I'm like, oh, man. Well, what do I do now? My pawn's hanging. All right, better play a quick move and defend my pawn. Wait a minute. I realized what I should have done. He goes rook f3. How am I crossing the third rank? He split both my pawns. Bastard. Like, I can't push anything. You know, now we're both got 2 minutes on the clock. Every move we make, we gain 30 seconds. I can't even get my king. I can't cross the third rank. So I'm like, okay, we're going to repeat moves here. You'll notice I went really low on time here. I played a move with 9 seconds on the clock. I repeated again. And basically I realized, you know, okay, I can play rook b7. And here, regardless, the winning idea is when the rook is not on the third rank. Like this. The rook is not on the third rank. I need to sacrifice one of these pawns to move this pawn and create passed pawns. It's either a3 or c3. If I play a3, he takes me, we have 1 and 1, and I have doubled passed c pawns. If I go here and takes, then I have doubled outside passed pawns. I have pawns on the outskirts of the board, and I'm thinking, that must be pretty good. It's an endgame. Outside passed pawns are good. I have 40 seconds. I have to make a decision. and I go here, and the plan is simple. The plan is back up and start bringing the king and the pawn. And I blew the advantage. And I knew it right away. I was so frustrated because, I played that move with 5 seconds on the clock, basically. And what I should have played all the way even back here was I should have went a3. Point being that after takes and something like rook d7, I'm winning because I'm getting in with my king. Now, it's not over. I mean, I'm not even sure it's like the end of the story. But here the computer really likes this. Take c3. If rook c2, it likes the next pawn forward, and then king c5. This is the way it likes to play forward. This is pretty boss. Give up everything. King gets in. King and pawn go together. This king is split from his pawns. I told you the pawns were going to be a liability, and then rook f5 was on the way as well. But I played c3, and the advantage was gone, and I was like, no, I gotta go here. I played this move with 3 seconds on the clock. I was like, what have I done? I was upset, but I was like, okay, at least I'm probably not losing. But at this point, I'm like, maybe I will lose because, he's going to win my pawn. I could have played a2 here, but I went here, and then I protected, and he went here. And I was like, oh, he's offering me a draw. Because check, right? We repeat. Of course, I repeated because I needed to gain time. Every time you get a move, you gain 30 seconds. And then I went for the win. I was like, I'm winning. I'm going to go king a5, king b4. I'm like, wait a minute, this is not over. I got like a burst of energy. He went here. I went here. I gave up my pawn. I gave him a check. He can't go to d6 because I take on c4. He can. Maybe it might be equal. King b4 here. And I'm like, okay, I can't take the pawn, but I do have this check. And now I have rook c4. And I'm thinking, how's he going to defend himself? He shows me how he's going to defend himself. He plays rook b1 check. But in my mind, I'm like, I'm winning. I'm 3 squares away from queening. How am I not winning here? The only thing that might happen here is he wins my pawn, I win this pawn, and it's going to be king and pawn versus rook. That is where we are headed. And it all depends where my king is. If my king is close, I win. If my king is far, I draw, right? He goes rook b7, which to me was the best move. But suddenly I'm like, wait a minute, I'm going to win. I am winning. No, it's a draw. But how? He doesn't find how. He goes here. And now I realized he can't get to my pawn. He can't get to my pawn because what I would do is I would give him a check. Or can't go here because I play rook c6. He can never win my pawn with his king. If he goes to win it with the rook, I'm going to make a queen. So he needs to stop my pawn, but he can't. And now I'm going to block him off, run my king to escape the checks. I escape the checks. He gets to the back rank, and I don't queen, but I go here. This is the only move. Why? Because my king needs to get closer. If I had queened right away, take, here, king f3, king g6, king f4, f6 is a draw. I lose the race by literally 1 square. If my king was here, it's a win. So I realized I'm going to go here. Now he's stuck because I'm going to go here on the next move and I get my 1 square. And that is exactly what I did. Now I go here. My rook protects both pawns. He has to go there. I'm threatening to take with the king and no longer need to protect my pawn. But this is winning because my king is too close. King e5, rook g2 check. He either goes in front of his pawn and loses it or gives it up. And I won. I won. I was not playing this game competitively for 2 years. And I just beat a 25-30 rated GM with the black pieces. That was the strongest dude in the chess club tonight. I'm tired. The tournament is just getting underway. I'm very, very happy. But to be honest with you, I like always maybe deep down knew that I could do it. I think I played a great game. You know, it happens. I played C3 deep in an endgame. Like, I thought I managed my time well. I took my time in important moments in the middle game. I didn't get mad at myself for missing anything. I did miss a couple of details, but the position was in the balance, so I found the best resources. I hit him with a queen sacrifice. That was pretty cool. And we analyzed after, and he was very nice, and everybody here is very nice. So that's round one. The first competitive game I played back on the road to GM. Honestly, in this game, I used a bunch of lessons I think that I've learned from Nick Sans, my coach, Latvian Grandmaster. I think I was patient in the right moments. I took my time 2 or 3 times in the game at a key juncture, and I played fast, and I took over the game, and ultimately it became a back and forth game, and it was like 90 moves, and I can't believe it, man. I won. I wanted to cry for like 5 minutes. Then I had to eat meatballs. Then I wanted to cry because the meatballs were really good. I was like, man, this feels so great. Like, this is the first GM I've beaten making any tournament recaps. And what a statement. I mean, winning with black against the best player in the section in the first round. Now, okay, there's 8 more games to go. But I feel great. I'm gonna rest. Might have a beer. Juice. I'm gonna have juice. And yeah. Check out the Chess League Community Challenge. Be a part of it. Get EXP points. Unlock rewards. All 100% free if you don't want to buy a course. Yeah, check out the Patreon. I'll be posting some stuff on there too. Round 2 tomorrow. Tournament calendar is in the description. That's all. Get out of here.